Welcome to Mech Games. If you love fast-paced combat and over-the-top action, then hack and slash games on the Nintendo Switch are made for you. These games let you jump into battles, chain crazy combos, and face waves of enemies that never quit. The Switch makes it all feel smooth, responsive, and addictive. In this video, we're checking out some of the most thrilling hack and slash experiences on the Switch, games that are impossible to put down once you start. Let's get started.
ONINAKI follows Kagachi, a watcher whose duty is to guide the souls of the dead to reincarnation in a world where death is treated as a transition rather than an end. Society fears attachment to the dead, believing lingering emotions can disrupt the cycle of rebirth, and watchers are tasked with severing these bonds. While carrying out his role, Kagachi encounters lost spirits called daemons, tragic souls bound by regret, hatred, or love, who grant him combat abilities when bound to him. As Kagachi travels the world helping both the living and the dead, he uncovers painful truths about his own past, including his lost love Linny and the suffering caused by rigid beliefs surrounding reincarnation. The story reveals that the system meant to preserve balance instead perpetuates cruelty, forcing people to abandon grief and suppress humanity. In the end, Kagachi confronts the corrupted cycle itself, choosing compassion over dogma, and challenges the world's understanding of life, death, and rebirth, emphasizing themes of loss, memory, and the cost of denying human emotion. Samurai Warriors 5 is a reimagined retelling of Japan's Sengoku period that focuses primarily on the intertwined lives of Nobunaga Oda and Mitsuhide Akechi, presenting their rise and eventual conflict as a tragic personal story rather than a purely historical chronicle. The game begins with Nobunaga depicted as a restless and unconventional youth chafing against the rigid traditions and corruption of the era, while Mitsuhide is portrayed as an intelligent but conflicted man torn between his sense of justice and loyalty to his lord. And as they meet and grow close, they share a vision of ending the endless wars and suffering caused by feudal strife. Nobunaga rises to power through decisive and often brutal campaigns, defeating rival clans and dismantling outdated systems, believing that only overwhelming force can create lasting peace, while Mitsuhide supports him as a strategist yet grows increasingly troubled by the human cost of Nobunaga's methods and the sacrifices demanded along the way. As Nobunaga's ambition hardens and his actions become more ruthless, Mitsuhide's internal conflict deepens. Hades is an action roguelike set in Greek mythology that follows Zagreus, the rebellious son of Hades, as he attempts to escape the underworld and uncover the truth about his identity and family. Frustrated by his cold and controlling father, Zagreus repeatedly fights his way through the realms of Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, and the Temple of Styx, aided by Olympian gods who secretly grant him powerful boons out of sympathy and curiosity, while each failed escape ends in death and rebirth in the House of Hades, reinforcing the game's themes of persistence and inevitability. As Zagreus grows stronger through countless attempts, he builds relationships with the residents of the underworld, including Achilles, Nyx, Thanatos, Megara, and Cerberus, gradually learning that his mother, Persephone, vanished long ago and that her absence fractured both the underworld and Olympus. Zagreus eventually succeeds in reaching the surface and reunites with Persephone, discovering that she left to escape the emotional isolation of the underworld and protect Zagreus from becoming trapped in its cycle. Lynked Banner of the Spark is a cooperative action RPG set in a colorful post-apocalyptic future where humanity survives in scattered settlements after a robotic uprising, and the story follows a group of resistance fighters known as the Spark, who wield advanced technology and bound AI companions to reclaim the world from hostile machines. The player takes on the role of a customizable hero who joins the settlement of New Dawn, a hub where survivors rebuild civilization while launching missions into dangerous regions overrun by corrupted robots and powerful machine overlords. As the hero fights through these areas using fast-paced combat and modular weapons, they uncover fragments of the past that reveal how humanity's dependence on automation led to its downfall. Central to the narrative is the banner of the Spark, a symbol of hope and unity that represents humanity's refusal to surrender its future. And through relationships with fellow fighters, engineers, and sentient AI allies, the story explores themes of cooperation, resilience, and coexistence between humans and artificial intelligence, as the Resistance pushes deeper into enemy territory.
Knights of Azure II, Bride of the New Moon is a dark fantasy action RPG set in a gothic world ruled by demonic forces known as the Moon Queen, where the story centers on Alush Honotoria, a half-demon knight serving the Curia, a religious order that governs humanity's survival against monsters. The narrative begins with Alush escorting her childhood friend Liliana Salfine, a gentle and devout woman chosen to become the Bride of the Moon, a living sacrifice meant to suppress the Moon Queen's power. But the mission ends in disaster when Liliana is seemingly killed, and Alush herself is fatally wounded, only to be revived as a full Servon, a powerful half-demon bound to fight an eternal night. Rescued by the mysterious demon knight Varushka, Alush learns that Liliana is still alive and has been abducted rather than sacrificed, prompting her to rebel against the Curia and journey across demon-infested lands to save her friend. Along the way, Alush allies with other Servons and fallen knights, uncovering the truth that the Curia manipulates sacrifices to maintain control and that the brides are not meant to save the world.
Blasphemous 2 continues the dark, religiously oppressive world of Custodia and follows the Penitent One after the apparent ending of the first game, where the miracle was seemingly undone, only for a new and distorted divinity to emerge from humanity's lingering guilt and devotion. The Penitent One is resurrected in a transformed land where faith has once again twisted itself into suffering, and a mysterious child born of the miracle is prophesied to become a new god whose existence will perpetuate the same cycle of punishment and fanaticism. Guided by cryptic figures such as Annunciata, the Penitent One journeys through ruined cities, sacred temples, and nightmarish sanctuaries, wielding new sacred weapons that represent different philosophies of penance, while confronting monstrous embodiments of belief, martyrdom, and false sanctity. As the journey unfolds, it becomes clear that the miracle is not a single divine force, but a reflection of humanity's need for absolution through pain, endlessly reshaping itself even after apparent destruction, and the institutions and followers who claim to oppose it.
Father of the penitents.
GetsuFumaDen is an action roguelike set in a dark, fantastical version of feudal Japan, blending traditional Japanese aesthetics with supernatural horror, and follows Fuma, the last surviving ninja of the Getsu clan, as he fights to reclaim the land from demonic forces that have overrun the human world. After a mysterious curse causes the death of his comrades and the rise of monstrous yokai, Fuma must descend into the underworld to defeat the rulers of evil and restore balance, guided by ancestral spirits and mystical allies who grant him weapons, abilities, and the power to manipulate life and death. The gameplay emphasizes exploration of procedurally generated dungeons, mastering a variety of combat techniques, and forging alliances with spirits who aid Fuma in battle, all while uncovering the truth behind the demonic uprising, a betrayal that ties back to the Getsu clan's own history and the misuse of forbidden magic. Throughout his journey, Fuma learns that defeating the demons is not only about strength, but understanding the cycles of life, death, and corruption that fuel their existence, and by confronting the ultimate source of the curse.
Tribes of Midgard is an action survival RPG set in a vibrant Viking-inspired world where players take on the role of a Jotun warrior defending their village from nightly invasions by Hell Things, monsters sent by the goddess Hel to bring about Ragnarök. The story centers around the tribe's efforts to protect the seed of Yggdrasil, a sacred tree that sustains their village, and players must gather resources, craft weapons and armor, and fortify defenses while exploring procedurally generated biomes filled with dangerous wildlife, dungeons, and mystical treasures. Throughout the journey, the tribe interacts with other NPCs and rival clans, forging alliances and uncovering ancient artifacts that reveal the history of Midgard, the rise of Hel's forces, and the cyclical nature of Ragnarök, emphasizing that survival relies as much on cooperation and strategy as on individual skill. As the tribe grows stronger, players face escalating challenges, including massive bosses and the threat of permanent village destruction, culminating in the ultimate battle against Hel herself to prevent the end of the world.
Darksiders II Deathinitive Edition is an action-adventure RPG that follows Death, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, on a quest to clear his brother War's name after the events of the first Darksiders game, where War was accused of prematurely bringing about the apocalypse. Unlike War, Death's journey is more personal and introspective as he travels across diverse realms: the ruined earth, the underworld of the Nephilim, the city of the dead, and the realm of the Charred Council, seeking to restore balance between heaven, hell, and the mortal world. Along the way, Death battles hordes of angels, demons, and corrupted beings, solves intricate puzzles, and acquires powerful weapons, armor, and abilities, all while uncovering the truth behind the prophecy that the Charred Council had manipulated to accuse War. The narrative deepens as Death confronts his own mortality and the nature of duty, learning that rigid adherence to divine laws often comes at the expense of justice and compassion. Death's quest also reveals the fates of numerous characters, including allies like the enigmatic Crowfather and the cursed Nephilim King.
Undungeon is an action RPG set in a multiverse on the brink of collapse, where dimensions called worlds are merging and threatening to annihilate reality. The story follows Frey, a young operative of the League of Light, an organization tasked with maintaining the balance between these worlds, as they navigate surreal landscapes filled with hostile creatures, advanced technology, and strange civilizations. Frey becomes trapped in the Undungeon, a mysterious liminal space that connects all dimensions, and must uncover the secrets behind the destabilization while fighting through procedurally generated dungeons, harnessing unique weapons, abilities, and relics from across multiple worlds. As Frey progresses, they learn that the collapse is not a natural event, but the result of conflicting factions manipulating the multiverse for their own agendas, including ancient entities and rogue machines that seek to rewrite reality according to their vision. The narrative emphasizes choice and consequence, with Frey forming alliances or rivalries that affect the survival of entire worlds. Touken Ranbu Warriors is a hack-and-slash action game set in a historical fantasy version of Japan, combining the world of the Touken Ranbu franchise with Warriors-style gameplay. The story follows a group of legendary swords, anthropomorphized as warriors known as Touken Danshi, who are brought to life by the Saniwa, a mystical sage, to protect history from distortion. Time distortions caused by malevolent forces threaten to alter key events in Japanese history, and the Touken Danshi must travel across different periods, battling enemies and restoring the timeline while uncovering hidden truths about the past. Each sword warrior has a unique personality, combat style, and backstory, allowing players to experience the narrative from multiple perspectives and see how their actions affect the flow of history. The overarching plot explores themes of duty, sacrifice, and the tension between free will and destiny, as the swords struggle with their loyalty to the Saniwa, the desire to protect humanity, and their own personal identities as living weapons. Eastern Exorcist is an action RPG set in a dark fantasy version of ancient China, where powerful demons and spirits, known as the Yao and Oni, threaten the mortal world. The story follows Shenfang, a young disciple of the Eastern Exorcist sect, who possesses a mysterious bloodline that grants him extraordinary spiritual powers, but also marks him as a potential target for malevolent forces. As Shenfang trains and grows stronger, he is tasked with purging corrupted lands, sealing malevolent spirits, and confronting rogue exorcists who have succumbed to dark influences. Throughout his journey, he uncovers the hidden history of the sect, the origins of the Yao, and the manipulations of powerful entities seeking to exploit the balance between the human and spirit realms for their own gain. Shenfang also forms bonds with allies and spiritual companions, learning that strength alone is insufficient, and that trust, understanding, and wisdom are crucial in combating supernatural threats. The narrative culminates in a confrontation with the ultimate demonic force behind the rising chaos. Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream is an action RPG set in a unique what-if timeline that merges characters, events, and worlds from across the Sword Art Online universe, creating a story where the boundaries between different game realities collapse. The plot begins when a new system called Galaxia, designed to let players experience memories of past worlds, malfunctions catastrophically, causing distortions that blend multiple virtual timelines together. As a result, characters from various SAO games and arcs heroes and villains alike are displaced into a fractured reality where familiar locations, enemies, and events are altered or overlapped in chaotic ways. Kirito, as the central protagonist, becomes the key figure tasked with navigating this unstable world, rallying both old allies and former adversaries to investigate the root of the temporal distortions and prevent further collapse. Throughout the story, players encounter 21 iconic characters from different arcs, including Kirito, Asuna, Sinon, Lifa, and others, who are forced to confront challenges outside their original experiences. Infinity Strash Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai is an action RPG adaptation of the classic Dragon Quest anime and manga series, following the journey of Dai, a young hero raised on Durmline Island who dreams of becoming a brave warrior like the legendary heroes of old. The story begins when Dai's peaceful life is disrupted by the resurgence of the Dark Lord Hadlar and his forces, who seek to conquer the world using armies of monsters and dark magic. Guided by the wise mentor Yvonne, Dai trains in combat, magic, and leadership, forming bonds with companions such as the clever magician Mom, the skilled warrior Pop, and the loyal dragon companion Gome-chan. Together, they face increasingly powerful enemies, uncovering secrets about Dai's origins, the history of past heroes, and the ancient battles between humans and dark forces. As Dai grows stronger, he must confront his own doubts and fears, mastering the legendary techniques of the Dragon Knight while learning that true courage involves protecting others rather than seeking glory.
Temple is a repeatable dungeon that changes every time you play through it. The further you progress,
Katana ZERO is a neo-noir action platformer that follows a highly skilled assassin known only as Subject Zero, who navigates a corrupt dystopian city under the influence of a mysterious drug called Chronos that allows him to manipulate time. The story begins with Zero taking on contracts to eliminate high-profile targets while grappling with fragmented memories and hallucinations caused by the drug, which blur the line between reality and delusion. As he completes missions, Zero begins to uncover a conspiracy involving a secretive organization that experimented on him and other assassins, manipulating their perceptions and controlling their actions for political and criminal gain. Along the way, he meets various characters, including a man claiming to be his psychiatrist, who provides cryptic guidance, and other morally ambiguous figures who challenge Zero's understanding of trust, loyalty, and his own identity. The narrative explores themes of trauma, free will, and the cycle of violence, revealing that Zero's memories may be fabricated and that his sense of morality is constantly tested. Persona 5 Strikers is an action RPG and sequel to Persona 5 that takes place several months after the events of the original game, following the Phantom Thieves as they embark on a summer road trip across Japan. The story begins when the group reunites to attend a festival, only to discover mysterious distortions known as jails appearing in various cities, where people's desires have become twisted, creating dangerous cognitive worlds controlled by powerful new shadows. The Phantom Thieves investigate these anomalies and learn that a mysterious organization called the Jail Monarchs is manipulating people's hearts to harvest their energy for unknown purposes. Players control the group in fast-paced, real-time combat while navigating these jails, using personas, cooperative attacks, and strategy to defeat enemies and free the hearts of those trapped by corruption. Along the way, the narrative delves into themes of justice, personal growth, and social responsibility, exploring how the Phantom Thieves confront not only external adversaries, but also their own evolving identities and relationships. No Place for Bravery is a dark, story-driven action RPG that follows Thrawn, a grizzled and battle-hardened warrior haunted by his past, as he embarks on a personal quest for revenge in a grim, war-torn world. The story begins with Thrawn returning to his village to find it destroyed and his daughter taken, forcing him to confront the choices and sacrifices that have defined his life. Players guide Thrawn through a series of brutal encounters and morally complex decisions, navigating hostile landscapes filled with dangerous enemies, corrupt factions, and remnants of a once thriving society. As the journey unfolds, Thrawn's memories reveal the depth of his failures, his relationships, and the personal costs of a life devoted to violence, emphasizing themes of grief, regret, and the cyclical nature of vengeance. Throughout the narrative, combat and exploration are closely tied to the story, reflecting Thrawn's physical and emotional struggle as he grows stronger while facing the consequences of his actions. The climax forces Thrawn to confront not only the antagonist responsible for his daughter's disappearance, but also the legacy of his own brutality. Batora Lost Haven is an action RPG that follows the story of Avril, a young girl whose peaceful life is shattered when a mysterious cosmic event causes the Earth to fracture, unleashing chaotic forces that threaten humanity. After the catastrophe, Avril discovers that she possesses a unique power connected to a mysterious crystal, allowing her to harness extraordinary abilities in both combat and exploration. Players guide Avril through a series of devastated landscapes, battling hostile creatures, confronting remnants of a fractured civilization, and uncovering secrets about the origins of the disaster. The narrative explores themes of personal growth, responsibility, and the consequences of choices, as Avril must decide how to wield her newfound power, whether to protect humanity, exact vengeance, or seek understanding of the cosmic forces at play. Along the way, she encounters allies and enemies who challenge her morals, testing her determination and shaping the outcome of her journey. The story builds toward a confrontation with the source of the Earth's devastation, forcing Avril to reconcile her role as a savior with the human cost of her decisions.
Titan Quest Ragnarök is an action RPG expansion to the classic Titan Quest, continuing the mythological journey of the hero as they face the cataclysmic events of Norse mythology. The story picks up after the hero's previous adventures across ancient Greece, Egypt, and Asia, bringing them to the lands of the Norse gods as Ragnarök, the prophesied apocalypse, begins to unfold. Players traverse harsh Nordic landscapes, including frozen mountains, dark forests, and war-torn villages, battling legendary Norse creatures such as frost giants, Draugr, and monstrous beasts unleashed by the chaos of the end times. As the hero progresses, they uncover that Loki, the trickster god, and other malevolent deities are manipulating mortals and immortals alike to accelerate the destruction of the world. The narrative focuses on the hero's quest to confront these threats, restore balance, and prevent the complete annihilation of both gods and humans, while also revealing the tragic inevitability of fate woven into Norse lore. Through exploration, combat, and powerful loot acquisition, the story emphasizes heroism. They Always Run is a story-driven science fiction action platformer in a space western setting where you play as Aiden, a three-armed bounty hunter traversing a lawless galaxy to hunt down the most dangerous and elusive criminals and uncover the truth about his own past. After the fall of the Galactic Empire, crime has engulfed the Outer Worlds, and tracking down fugitives or powerful cutthroats becomes a highly prized skill, so Aiden takes on bounties across diverse planets, from fringe settlements to core systems and the ruins of long-gone civilizations. Some bounties pay money, while others grant valuable information that helps him piece together a conspiracy tied to those who set him on his current path and to the mysteries surrounding his origins, thrusting him into conflicts that go beyond simple contracts. As he fights through linear two-dimensional levels, Aiden uses his unique third arm not only to deal with enemies, break through defenses, and manipulate the environment, but also to approach challenges in different ways, such as choosing to capture a target alive for greater reward or eliminate them outright for less. Bravery and Greed is a top-down action RPG that follows the story of a lone adventurer navigating the dark and monster-infested world of Bellum, a land plagued by corruption, greed, and ancient evils. The protagonist begins their journey seeking fortune and glory, entering dungeons filled with traps, treasures, and dangerous enemies, where every decision carries risk and potential reward. As the hero progresses, they uncover that the source of the chaos is not just monstrous forces, but also human greed and betrayal, with towns, guilds, and factions exploiting the land for power and wealth, forcing the protagonist to confront moral choices and the consequences of their own ambition. The narrative explores themes of courage, sacrifice, and the cost of pursuing wealth and power, as the adventurer must balance their desire for riches with the need to protect innocence and prevent the spread of corruption. Along the way, alliances are formed and broken, secrets of the world's history are revealed, and the hero faces increasingly powerful foes, culminating in confrontations with ancient, greed-driven entities who embody the darkness consuming the land.
Ultra Age is an action RPG that follows the story of Age, a young man who wields a mysterious and powerful sword capable of transforming into multiple forms in a world under siege by a mysterious, otherworldly force. The story begins when Age's peaceful life is disrupted by an invasion of strange monsters and mechanical enemies that threaten humanity, forcing him to embark on a journey to uncover the origins of the attack and his own latent powers. As he travels through sprawling cities, industrial complexes, and desolate wastelands, Age encounters both allies and adversaries, including other wielders of powerful weapons, who challenge him to grow stronger while revealing pieces of a larger conspiracy that ties the invaders to human greed and experimentation. Players experience fast-paced combat with a focus on weapon transformations, combos, and environmental interaction, while the story unfolds through cutscenes, character interactions, and mission objectives that reveal Age's internal struggle, his sense of duty, and his search for identity and purpose in a collapsing world.
Lysfanga, the Time Shift Warrior, is a tactical action RPG set in a mythic world where an ancient evil known as the Raxes, demonic forces once sealed away, has returned to threaten the peace of the realm of Antala after 500 years of peace, and players assume the role of Aim, the legendary protector called the Lysfanga, chosen by the goddess of time to defend the new kingdom from this renewed threat. Aim is gifted with divine powers that allow her to manipulate time in battle, enabling her to rewind time and summon clones of her past selves, called remnants, to fight alongside her so that multiple versions of her can overwhelm enemies and complete challenges that would be impossible alone. As Aim travels through ancient cities that were once locked in time, she must defeat hordes of escaped Raxes, uncover the secrets behind their re-emergence, and grow stronger by expanding her arsenal of weapons and learning new spells to prepare for ever greater dangers. The narrative involves the lore of a once locked world, the legacy of the goddess Quimera, who once protected these lands.
Samurai Maiden is an action-packed hack-and-slash game set in a dystopian, futuristic Japan where the player assumes the role of a cybernetically enhanced samurai known as the Samurai Maiden. The story follows her mission to reclaim a city overrun by rogue robots, corrupt corporations, and violent factions after a mysterious technological catastrophe destabilized society. As the protagonist, she must battle waves of enemies using a combination of traditional katana techniques and advanced cybernetic abilities, including enhanced speed, agility, and energy attacks, while uncovering the truth behind the city's collapse. Along the way, the Samurai Maiden encounters both allies and enemies whose motives are ambiguous, forcing her to navigate a morally complex world where loyalty, betrayal, and survival are tightly intertwined. The narrative explores themes of identity, humanity, and the cost of power, particularly as the protagonist grapples with her own cybernetic modifications and the blurred line between machine and human. The story culminates in confrontations with powerful adversaries who embody both the technological and moral corruption.
Spirit Mancer is an action RPG that follows the journey of a young spirit tamer known as a Mancer, who is chosen to protect the balance between the human world and the spirit realm after a mysterious corruption begins spreading across both planes. The protagonist discovers the ability to summon, command, and fuse with elemental spirits, each granting unique abilities and combat styles that are essential for survival against the increasingly hostile environment and monstrous creatures that emerge from the corrupted spirit realm. As the story unfolds, the Mancer travels through diverse regions, ranging from enchanted forests and ancient ruins to shadow-infested villages, uncovering the origin of the corruption and confronting factions that seek to exploit the spirit's powers for their own gain. Along the way, they encounter allies and mentors who teach advanced techniques and reveal hidden truths about the intertwined fates of humans and spirits, challenging the Mancer to make moral choices that affect the outcome of the story. The narrative builds toward a confrontation with the source of the corruption, forcing the protagonist to balance the use of destructive power.